Welcome to a new episode of Opening Bid. I'm Yahoo Finance Executive Editor Brian Sozzi. This, of course, is the podcast that will make you a better investor, I hope, and I actually know that. It will make you a better investor. I want to dive into all things sneakers today. There's been so much focus on sneakers this year. Some companies doing well, some companies emerging, and a lot of new fun technology hitting the market. And for that, we're joined by Brooks CEO Dan Sheridan. Dan, good to see you.
Hi, Brian.
Do you want to show the camera your Brooks?
I mean, why wouldn't I?
Okay, there
right?
we go.
Yeah.
We got to get that wide shot here at the Nasdaq.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So you're in town for what, the New York City Marathon? I'm assuming you're running. You'll be at the start of the line?
I wish I was running. But yeah, we're in town for the New York City Marathon. What a week. You know, the energy in the city around the sport of run is maybe at the highest it ever is during the year. And we've got some of our best athletes running, and we actually have 10 of our employees that are coming out from Seattle. Yeah, so we'll have a crew out on course, and we'll activate all week. We've got an activation here on Lafayette with what we call the Hype House, which really showcases our products and our brand to the running community. And so it's going to be a great week, and we're excited to be here.
Are you a hardcore runner?
No, here's how I define, in our office there's runners and then there's people that run, and I am definitely a person that runs. Running's important to me, but I didn't grow up running. I grew up playing ball and bat sports, but running's a central part of every sport, right? So I ran a lot, but it was mostly for punishment.
I was just going to say that I actually just ran away from my parents. Sorry, Mom, sorry, Dad. I know you're big fans of the Opening Bid podcast. Definitely ran away from you a lot as a kid.
Yeah.
So how do you know? All right, so you put on these sneakers, and we're going to get more into your innovation and what you're working on and the state of the industry, but how do you know, so you slip on a pair of Brooks, and how do you tell the team, like, I don't know, guys, I don't know, go back and fix this a little bit?
Yeah, you know, this is the secret in run. It's really, really hard to make a great running shoe, and so it takes years of R&D. It takes craftsmanship through our supply chain, and fit is the secret sauce for us. And so we root everything in the science of biomechanics, kinesiology, and now we're putting physiology into our R&D, and that all is part of the quality of the fit, feel, ride that is special to Brooks. So you know when a shoe is good or not, and it really matters on mile 22 at the marathon.
Yes, it does.
Right? So we sweat all the details, and that's why we've been where we have been and why we're having the success we're having.
Yeah, gel packs will only take you so far on a run. I mean, there's some good gel packs out there, but so like this feels like an interesting moment in the business of sneakers. You know, I'm an avid gym goer. I mean, this is my personal hobby, my personal passion. I've seen so much different innovations hitting the market the past year. Explain to us what is happening and what are consumers looking for, and why are we seeing this big innovative moment?
Well, I think you got to go back to the consumer first and foremost. So what we saw during COVID, right, is all the gyms and studios were shut down, and guess what was available to everybody? Running and walking.
I lost 10 pounds of muscle during that period.
Right?
Sucked, man.
Yeah, and so what we saw is people that maybe were running a little bit got more frequent in their participation in run, and those that had lost their way in the sport of run came back to it. And so what we're seeing now is this surge in participation, and so the market is incredibly healthy. The running market here in the U.S. Traditionally grows about 2%. It's up almost 6% year to date, and above $130, it's growing at 38%. So you take that landscape first, and that's an investment area and opportunity for all these brands. And we've been focused on this for 20 plus years, right? And now we've got competitors coming in because the market's so healthy. But it starts with the consumer, and the consumer's there. Participation rates are at an all-time high.
I'm going to show off my lack of hardcore industry knowledge. Like, why am I seeing a lot of sneakers with like these big, soles? They look very, I mean, to me, they feel bouncy.
Yeah.
But they're also taking up like half of the shoe, like if you look at it from the side.
Yeah, the way we approach it, right, is first you start with science, biomechanics of the human body, and then you match experience. What experience do people want on runs? Do they want to be closer to the ground? Do they want to be farther from the ground?
Closer, right?
Yeah, well, some people. I'm actually more of a cushion person, so I like kind of that max cushion. And that's really what's come into the market is a new experience, which we're delivering. We just launched a shoe called the Glycerin Max, which is a high stack shoe.
That's what I was talking about,
yeah,
high stack.
Exactly, with great cushioning in foams, and foams are the innovation right now. It's kind of an arms race on foam engineering and innovation in foam. And so what you're seeing on the streets or in the gym are these foams that are coming into the midsole. We have a great lineup with the Glycerin Max and the Ghost Max 2.
They're a pain to keep clean. Like they just are, because sometimes I'm walking, I'll like scrape it on the side. I'm like, oh man, there goes my like $200 shoe. I mean, it stings.
Yeah, well that's a different issue that we'd have to solve for you.
So what is it about foam? Like, where does this come from, and what is the technology you're using there?
Well, traditionally over the last 20 years, there's been very little innovation in foam, and really we focused on geometry and essentially bringing science into the geometry of the shoes. But the foams have gotten so light, so resilient, so you can actually have two different types of foam in your shoe, one that dampens for cushioning and one that gives you resiliency, so you've got energy back. And when you match that, it's an amazing experience in the shoe. And then we're getting weight out of the...
They're really light.
They're super light, right? Like this is a 7-ounce shoe that I have.
7-ounce shoe?
7 ounces. So you can get all the properties you want in good dampening and resiliency with weight reduction, which is the holy grail for runners.
I mean, not to move past foam, but what's the next frontier? I mean, you have a product pipeline, I imagine, looking out a couple of years.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that we're working on right now. One, foam is still going to continue to innovate. The super shoe is out there, so the shoe matters again, which is awesome for Brooks, awesome for the runner. So you're seeing a lot of innovation in carbon plates. You'll see a lot of the Hyperion, this shoe and the Hyperion Max, and we have a shoe called the Hyperion Elite, which has a carbon plate in it, and it really is a propulsion story for the runner. So you're starting to see innovation in carbon as well. And then we're looking, we look 24, 36 months out on innovation and R&D, and some of the geometries that maybe were tried and true in the past are gonna change to really unlock the foot.
The shoes do look different. They look like,
and you'll continue to see this.
Like they're not triangles, they're just different shoes. They look differently than I remember, and all that is to help you, run faster?
Yeah. So a lot of it is to get you through your gait, to get through the gait so you're reducing any chance of injury.
How did you get into this? I mean, you're the new CEO, Brooks.
Yeah. It's a fun story. So I was a high school teacher. Both my parents were teachers. So I say I went into the family business. I didn't love it. But I started at Brooks in 1998 in an entry-level role as a field marketing rep, and just got incredibly fortunate to be with a brand that was growing. We just hit $1 billion through our third quarter here. When I started at Brooks, it was $60 million. So I've seen a lot of change at Brooks, and I've just been able to kind of build a career there. We've got 1,400 employees worldwide now. We got about 670 here in the U.S. and I'm fortunate to be sitting in this seat and leading this.
We got to give a shout out because I've gotten to know Jim Weber. I mean, the former CEO of Brooks. I mean, he essentially elevated you into this role. I mean, what do you learn from a leader like that? I mean, he's really helped bring the brand from 60 million to over $1 billion or $1 billion.
We'll be 1.4 billion this year.
What do you take away from?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think in careers you get very fortunate, right? You work hard, you prepare, but you get very fortunate based on the people that you're surrounded with. And I hit the lottery there with what I call the modern day founder of Brooks. Brooks is over 100 years old, right? But Jim's the modern day founder and a mentor for me. And there's so many stories that I could tell you about decisions he's made that put us on the right path. But Jim had a vision, right? He saw the running boom 20 plus years ago, and we've been invested in it and focused on it ever since. Every day we get up, all we think about is run, which is super unique, right? It's a very sharp focus that creates this incredible mass appeal for people. You said it. I'm wearing this with slacks today. Running is the it category and on trend right now, and it's really fun.
Brooks is that old?
Yeah,
what were you making over 100 years ago?
We were making not running shoes at that point. Brooks started in 1914 as an American manufacturing company, and they were in sporting goods. And at that point, because they were in manufacturing, they had to do all the categories. So they did, call it bathing shoes, I think they called it at that point. They did ice skates. They had some patents on baseball cleats and the like. But it was really in the 70s and 80s where we started to bring running into the portfolio. And then when Jim showed up, we did a singular focus on run. And that was bold at that time. Not many companies focused on one singular
There's just
category.
this one large company that is publicly traded.
Yeah, we won't mention. But I think it's a story of this focus that many businesses probably get distracted at times on some of the emerging categories. What we saw in the early 2000s was participation was at a rate and growing, where we saw a future where run was going to be big in people's lives and globally. We just launched in China. We opened a store in Shanghai last year, and we're having great success there. We've got a great business in Europe as well. This is global. People are investing in their health and wellness and an active lifestyle.
You have me wondering, what in the world is a bathing shoe? Is it like those water shoes now?
I'll send you a picture. It's not the Crocs that are today.
Yeah. Did you also make like ballet shoes? I read somewhere too.
There's so many different categories that the Brooks manufacturing company made, and we were actually in basketball at one point.
Wow.
Yeah, Dominique Wilkins, James Worthy.
Well, I did not
Yeah, look it up.
I did not know
look
that.
it up. It's pretty fun.
All right, well, hold that because I want to mention that in a second. We'll be right back on Opening Bid. Don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back to Opening Bid. Having a fun chat here with the new CEO of Brooks, Dan Sheridan. I had no clue, and I pride myself in doing a lot of in-depth research. I did not know you were in basketball.
Yeah.
Does Brooks have a right to play in there now? Not from the standpoint you're going to go up against Nike.
Yeah.
They do what they do. But what about that sneaker after the athlete gets off the court, or that lifestyle shoe?
Yeah. I mean, the sport of run transcends just the run. We know that. When you are passionate about running or walking or just being active, our brand now has an invitation into their lives, right? Before and after. So that's the expansion you're going to start to see from Brooks. And you're already starting to see it just on how we merchandise our product. You mentioned it on this shoe. So what we believe in is we're going to anchor our brand in performance gear, but we're going to expand our brand to the lifestyle around the run. That's work. That's on the weekends with your kids. So it's a bigger category than even is defined in some of the performance run data.
Do you use athlete sponsors? Is that?
Oh yeah, it's a huge part. This year in the Olympics, Josh Kerr, 1500 meter world champ last year, silver medalist this year, just an incredible athlete. This weekend we'll have probably half a dozen athletes running. Desi Linden, Boston Marathon champ, is running again this year.
In Brooks?
Yeah.
Wow.
CJ Albertson at the Chicago Marathon a couple weeks ago, first American finisher in the Chicago Marathon, is running this weekend. So we have incredible athletes that bring this sport alive. It's the heartbeat of the sport, right? And they influence not only the most dedicated runner, but during these epic times like New York City Marathon or the Olympics, they are what all the eyeballs are on. And so we had a chance to go to the Olympics this year and see Josh win a silver.
That must have been cool.
Oh, it was incredible. It was just incredible. When you are in a stadium of 80,000 people for the sport that we love, there's nothing better.
What the crowd doesn't see is we actually have 80,000 people right now at the Nasdaq listening to this episode live and in person.
Look at all these people.
Yeah, there we go. So how do you know what category to get into? All right, so you guys do running and you've just dominated that category. I mean, over $1 billion in sales. But how do you know, do you want to go up against Crocs? Or do you like what the On people are doing? Do you want to go up against them? Do you see what Allbirds is doing, selling sneakers to people that work in an office? I mean, how do you know where to go and where will you be going?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot smarter people than me that are in charge of kind of what we call running insights. So we have a group of people that are mining insights with consumers and more specifically dedicated runners that are looking for trends in the marketplace. So you start there. Then you match it with a product pipeline and a product group that are thinking about the trends in run matched with science. So we root everything in science because we do look at our competitive set for sure, but we root it in science. What is going to keep runners running farther, faster, and healthier? Because the biggest fear for any runner is getting hurt. So we take those running insights, we match it with science, and those trends seem to have been pretty consistent over the years if we match it to science. So, for us right now, the trends that we're seeing are, one, running is growing like crazy. It's a global sport. And footwear matters again. You remember the barefoot phenomenon when
I have a pair.
Okay. Yeah. We'll talk about that later. But that was a challenge in, does the shoe matter? The shoe absolutely matters.
I can tell you the brand that I have used has hurt my foot, given the training that I do, so I have stopped wearing them.
Okay.
I mean, maybe I'm too close to the ground and I need some new foam.
We can help you with that.
Okay, we'll take that offline.
We can help you with
but let me ask you this. So I have said before on Opening Bid and with consumer guests that I just think the quality of what Nike makes has come down. I see it, I feel it, I consume their sneakers. Has their struggles benefited you? Have you seen share gain at their expense?
We probably think about it a little differently in terms of our strategy. So one of the things that we know about runners is they shop across channel. And so our strategy has always been a multi-channel strategy for Brooks. We are starting to invest in our own retail, but we really distribute through specialty running retail around the world, kind of smaller, independently owned shops that just focus on run. And then the best running retailers around the world as well.
So it's not like you're clogging up JCPenney with sneakers.
Exactly. And we handpick. We believe you are who sells you as a brand. That's just how we kind of view the world. And so our strategy is this multi-channel strategy, which is very different than some of the bigger brands and how they go to market. And so that's worked for us. And we set everything up to be an omni-channel brand without our own retail, which is really hard. Because our systems aren't the same systems that they run, and they don't run the same calendars we run. But it's worked for us because running is very local. We always say that it's a collection of maybe 10,000 communities around the world that have the best editors of product, maybe the best runner at one point in their career that everyone seeks their advice from. So we have to service all of these independent markets and local markets to be successful and run, and that's worked for us.
I imagine an entry into China was something thought about for many years, and you don't do it without a lot of work and a lot of research. Did you have concerns? You enter this market, and it's a market where everything seemingly is counterfeited, and all that hard work that you've put into what you've developed may end up on Tmall somewhere selling for $2.
Yeah, it's super challenging. The counterfeit aside, but just the market in general it's different than we've gone to market because owned retail is very important to your brand experience over there. So we're investing in retail stores. But we know this, that the running market, it's the second largest running market in the world behind the US, and it's continuing to grow. So as the middle class grows in China, we think health and wellness will continue to grow. So we're investing like crazy in run groups and just our brand in general, and you'll see us expand retail over there. But it is a challenging market.
How does that expansion look? Is it opening up own stores, going into department stores or bigger?
Yeah, it's
bigger
opening branded stores. If you look at the landscape over there, essentially that's how you begin to expand your brand, is through brick and mortar retail stores that are branded Brooks and have a Brooks experience. Sometimes they're run by partners or distributors over there, but we'll begin to invest in stores in China in the next few years.
Well, now Brooks is increasingly a global company, and I'm asking all leaders this, as we approach the election. I mean, what would make life easier for you as a leader? Whoever wins, what would make Brooks a more profitable company, a greater place to work? Like, what could elected people do?
Yeah, it's obviously the question of the week and over the next couple weeks. For us, I think because we're a global brand, global trade is super important to us. And friction in supply chain is a bad thing. So we obviously are paying attention to the conversations around tariff and trade.
I can't get a good answer from. Are tariffs bad for the sneaker industry? I've put this to different industries. I talked to Cisco CEO Chuck Robbins. Are tariffs bad for routers and switches in his business? I didn't. Maybe I mean, I sense that it was, but like, what does it look like from a sneaker industry perspective?
Yeah, I think for our industry, actually, it's a huge headwind. And there's a lot of reasons why, right? We've already got high tariffs on footwear.
Gotcha.
Out of China, it's 27%-ish. Out of Vietnam, it's about 20. So an additional 20, 25, or whatever the conversation is massive. And, to absorb that as a business begins to take investment out of R&D, takes it out of consumer demand creation, takes it out of experiences. So we have to pass those on to the consumer, and you can't pass a 25% lift in cost completely.
I mean, I love Brooks, but that's like a $500 shoe.
Exactly. So that's a puzzle that would be really hard, not just for Brooks, for the entire industry to solve. And so we're paying attention to the conversations on trade and tariffs.
So is there a way to prepare to lobby against these things?
Well, I think, you look at your supply chain, and anyone that has a global supply chain and a complex supply chain is trying to figure out agility in your supply chain, redundancy, and we're working that too, right? So I think we're looking for new places where we can do that with our current partners. And always thinking about the agility you need in your supply chain when you have policy shocks like what we're hearing.
For those not familiar, I know the industry has tried this many times to make more sneakers in the U.S. Like, what does your U.S. footprint look like?
Yeah, so we don't produce anywhere besides Southeast Asia.
Gotcha.
For footwear. But we're working on some projects with our current partners.
That's good.
Yeah, to think about how you get closer to market. Because as this world gets more complex and as supply chains get more complex, the unlock would be more local manufacturing. The truth is we're a ways away from that. The entire supply chain as you go up tier 2, 3, and 4 is all in Southeast Asia. And so the materials and resources you need to do that would be a big lift to make it domestic manufacturing.
And in many respects, Brooks is a special company. I mean, you're owned by Berkshire Hathaway,
Yeah.
Warren Buffett. Have you interacted with Warren? I always ask this question to Jim, so now I'm like just passing it down to you.
Yeah.
What has been your interaction with Warren through years?
Yeah, we're super lucky, right? I mean, I know that as a leader. I've watched Jim manage this relationship over the years, and we've been lucky enough to meet Warren over the years, and he's a big
cool.
fan of Brooks.
Yep.
I more frequently talk with Greg Abel now, and Greg is incredible and just a great leader for us to lean into. But being a Berkshire company is very unique. They have a long-term view to their investments. They decentralize decision making and really let the brands and business kind of lead and make decisions. They're there every time you need them from a resource and a support.
What more can you ask for, right?
Yeah,
You're getting money and you don't have to worry about reporting earnings every corner. Right? This is great, man.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
So how is, for those not familiar, with Greg Abel, he is Warren Buffett's successor.
Right.
Like, how is he as a leader? I mean, are they really that similar?
So I think there's some similarities, but Greg's his own man and is really leading his area of expertise in operations. And the way that I interact with Greg is, if I need him, I can call him, text him, and he'll return the call quickly. And he's a sounding board for us. And we touch base with him a couple times a year to share strategy and investment decisions, and he guides and advises us in a key way. So he's a resource for me, for sure.
Are you going to be down on the floor at the Berkshire annual meeting hawking? I know Brooks has the Warren Buffett
That's right.
logo on the sneakers. Is that what you're going to be doing now? You're on the floor?
Yeah, look, I am a shoe salesman at the root of everything I do. Anything to sell a shoe or a piece of apparel,
Nice.
and so I'll be there.
Well, I know this episode probably will help sell like 5 million. Dan Sheridan, I wish you much success in this new role. We look forward to following your CEO journey. We followed Brooks for a long time here at Yahoo Finance. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for having me.
All right, thank you so much. All right, thank you for listening to the latest episode of Opening Bid. Hit us with those 5 stars on Spotify. If you can give us 9 stars, please give us 9, but you can't. You can only give us 5. Likes on YouTube, hit us with those. And of course, some great reviews on Apple Music. We appreciate the love. We feel the love. And we'll talk to you soon.